Hi again, and welcome to Adobe Live. If you're tuning in for the first time today, welcome. If you were here for the Daily Creative Challenge just a couple minutes ago, welcome back. I'm Kendall Plant, and I am joined again today with Sin Lagos.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, say hi in the comments or in the chat. Introduce yourself. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Say hi to Sin. Hello, Lindsay. Howdy.
Lindsay, wow, she's here again.
Yeah, Charles. Yo. What's up? How's it going? Angelique, glad you made it here in time. Hi, everyone. Hi, Anna. Hi, Alberto. All right. Keep saying hi. Be active in the chat. Say hello to your chat neighbor. We have a lot of fun stuff going on today. So we are going to be continuing to create some social media graphics that we started yesterday. And today we have some really fun animation going on, so definitely stick around for that. We kind of blew your minds with artboards in Photoshop.
Yeah.
And now we're going to learn how to animate in Photoshop.
I didn't think, I'm very familiar with it, but yeah, it was very cool yesterday.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people learned some stuff yesterday, so that's pretty cool. So unfortunately, this is our last day streaming today, for me and Sin at least, but we have a lot of other stuff going on. So let's take a look at the schedule for the rest of the day. So earlier this morning, we had the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge with Jesus. That will be happening again tomorrow, so definitely tune in. After our stream this morning at 11:30, Sam is going to be taking us through another Daily Creative Challenge in XD, so definitely tune into that. And then later today, Julian is going to be back with designing for any screen in Adobe XD. So we have a lot of great stuff today. Definitely make sure to tune in to those Daily Creative Challenges happening through this week, and then a new set will start on Monday, so make sure to register that once it's open. So a lot of stuff today. All right, we have Julia from Sweden. I think Julia was watching yesterday, so welcome back. Hello to Brazil, Leandro. Nice to see you.
From the Netherlands, Michelle.
Yeah, Valentine from France. That's a fantastic name, Valentine.
Valentine.
That's beautiful. Hello, everyone. Johanna, hi. How's it going?
Harvey from Florida.
Ooh,
wow.
More Florida people.
Shout out.
Super fun. So speaking of chat, in about a half an hour, we are going to have a chat and win where you can win 100 Sticker Mule stickers.
Yes,
right
so you can put them all over your screen.
Yeah, we need
or
to
just take one. One big one.
Just have a giant one. So if you're here watching already, you are in the right place. So keep chatting. Make sure you're logged in to behance.net/live. And once we start the chat and win, just make sure you're really active, ask questions, say hello, make funny jokes.
Yeah.
I like jokes. Say where you want to go on vacation. We went to the beach yesterday. So.
Yeah, we wanted to go to the beach.
Yeah, it was pretty
Alberto from Miami. He's already in the beach.
Yeah. Hi from Texas. Hello from Brazil. There are a couple Brazilians in there.
Texas, New York.
Nice. Oh, we're in the same beach. Thank you, Paco.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe we can go to another beach today. We have Egypt and Portugal in the house. Morocco. Hello, Ishale from New York.
From Morocco.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Carolina from Portugal. Hello, Ibrahim from Egypt. Got a lot of fun stuff going on today. So later in the stream, we will also be doing a portfolio review.
I'm excited about that.
Yes, so it's going to be a great chance to have Sin review your work and take a look at it. It's a really awesome chance to get some feedback.
Yeah, sometimes we're not aware of our progress until we see other people like very stunting. We're like, wow, okay, I'm not that bad. So definitely that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely stick around for that. So keep saying hi, keep chatting in the comments. We're really glad that you guys tuned in, so thank you all. All right, so without further ado.
Yes.
Sin's gonna take it.
Yesterday, we were able to create a short story, right, within our IG story. And it looked a little bit like this. And I really liked how many panels we created for interactivity within the Instagram platform. It's really cool. And this is, for those of you who weren't here yesterday, this is sort of what that looks like. These setups here are the ones that we hope that the viewer in Instagram gets to tap and just feel like they're part of the interaction as the graphics reveal themselves, right? So it looks a little bit like that. In this case, I made my story around the theme of a day off in the beach, but also I wanted to show my viewers how I create conceptual editing based on the picture that I take, how I kind of stop and consider the emotions, the history, and sort of the color palette of the editing that I'm going to do. So it's a little bit more planning. So today I wanted to focus a little bit on this little guy, our cover. So our cover, we made this yesterday. I wanted to have an opportunity to make an animation with this. And I think one of my favorite things about Photoshop is that you get to be an animator, you get to be a photo editor, you can do almost an illustrator, because it has sort of an intro level for a lot of things. So I want to animate this section in Photoshop Timeline. And bear with me, it may look complicated, but in fact it's actually very easy. And it's the intro level that's gonna help you move towards more robust programs like After Effects or Premiere. And I think a lot of us want to get good at that too, right? Like
Definitely.
eventually.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat yesterday were seeing artboards for the first time. So if anything pops up, if you've never seen the timeline used in Photoshop, please feel free to ask questions in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them as we work through today.
Yeah, so the animation I hope to do today is gonna look a little like this.
Very cool.
Very cool, right?
Yeah, lots of motion in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really good to have something animated, especially in today's day and age, because that attention span we were talking about earlier of 8 seconds, it's very important to have something that's just gonna grab their attention. But at the same time, don't overdo it. It's always good to stay true to the sort of the aesthetics of your photograph, right? If your photograph demands that aggressiveness, then go for it. If it's still soothing, you can still create an animation that has that effect. But now it moves, so it's more interesting to watch.
Yes. Yeah, Angelique says she didn't know it was possible to create animations in Photoshop, so that's pretty cool.
It's nuts, right? I surprised myself too. I was there like trying to figure out what to do with the typography, and when I did this, I was like, okay, this looks like it's being handwritten. And I did a very simple mask, which I'll show you guys later. Masking is honestly one of my favorite things to do because it just allows you to hide and reveal very easily without like too much complexity.
Yes, definitely.
So what we'll do is open up Photoshop, right? I have my cover here. I'm gonna start by showing you guys how I exported my cover. So I have this cover. I don't want to drag all of these other artboards because it's just, less is more when it comes to computers, right? Like we want to make sure it can handle animations. So I export only this artboard. All right, so I'm going to go here to File, Export, and Artboard to Files. And I actually made a custom shortcut for this, Shift Command H, so that because I do this so often, and I told you guys that this is something that you can do. You can always do custom shortcuts right here in Edit Keyboard Shortcuts. Well, let's go back here in case you don't have that yet. Export, Artboard to Files. And then what I'm going to do is, because I have this one selected, that's the only one that's going to export at this moment. And if I want to export this, I can do that in JPEG, in PDF, TIFF. There's a lot of options here. In this case, we want to retain the layers, so we're going to do PSD.
So if you wanted to export all the artboards at the same time?
You want to either select them all, just out here, or just don't select any of them, and it'll export all of them together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Handy. Very handy when you have multiple slides.
Yeah, and it'll just export, right, and all of these layouts, all of these sort of the correct size is going to export without you having to go and crop each one, which I used to do in the past.
Yeah, and yesterday we talked a little bit about organizing your files in Photoshop, and I'm guessing that's where that would come in handy too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So right now, I don't actually have to rename it because it already has that name with the extension A Day Off. So I'm going to place this in my Adobe Live cover. and open. And so I'm going to make sure it's PSD. That's important because we want to retain our layers. And then just run. And it's going to do some funky thing there.
That fun little spinny.
That's like Artboard to Files was successful.
Yay.
There should be like a little cheers, like claps.
I know. Some
like
positive
little
feedback in Photoshop. That would be really fun.
Some fireworks.
You did it.
Okay, so then I already opened that file here. And so this is my cover. Right now I have a few files off, but this is sort of what that looks like. Let me see.
Alberto loves or Julia loves the beach theme. We have a lot of beach theme fans. Yeah, really beautiful. Oh, in Sweden, we don't have that beautiful blue shade. We have a lot of beautiful stuff in Sweden.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, yes. Yeah. And some of this can be done in post-production.
Yeah.
If you so desire it.
Yeah.
So this is what the timeline looks like right now. And don't feel overwhelmed by this. This is actually fairly simple once you get the hang of what is happening here. So these are currently my files. And what I do right away to get a grip of like where things exist is I color each layer, right? So these layers, for example, yesterday I couldn't find this layer, so I was like, I'm gonna place it in red. So these layers are my fonts, so I'll make them all the same color. This layer is the sand, so I made it sort of this yellowy color. I have a blur for the palm tree that I ended up introducing last minute. That cool palm tree we had at the other side of our artboards. And then I have the sky and the water, which I painted blue. And that reflects right away into your timeline. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have your timeline, I should have started here, but what you do is you go to Windows, you go to Timeline all the way down here. And right away you'll see this timeline.
Yeah, and usually it shows up at the bottom of your workspace by default.
Which can seem chaotic, right? You're just like, okay, I can't see my artboard. Mm-hmm. I love having a custom workspace in Photoshop, so I actually placed it here and saved that as workspace, send logos. So now I have my custom workspace and I can always feel like at ease that the essentials are there for me.
You know your space, yeah.
Yeah, so then I'll place this here and it appears right on the right-hand side, and then I have my work on the left-hand side. Perfect. Now that gives me like, okay, I know where everything is. That's always tricky. So you can see here all of my files are now color coordinated, which is really cool because that's the hardest part. And it's also nice that you can also see the title of each layer. So you get to see that this is a day, you see the sand, sky, and water. Nice. All right. So I was experimenting with this, and I know that initially I had this layer together, right? This is the background layer. And I decided, sort of last minute, I'm pressing Option, by the way, to do this like little trick here where you just see one single layer. Option or Alt, yeah. So you can see and disappear. Or do the same thing. Yeah, just to like know where everything is. Yeah. So this layer, I want to do what is called sort of a parallax effect. And what that is you sort of mimic this idea that you're on different planes. You know, we're playing with 2D space, but we can pretend this is a 3D space in animation, which is a really cool thing to really think about, right? So when it comes to photography, when you have something in the foreground, if it's blurry, it makes it feel like you're just like your eyes traveling through. So that's why I included that palm tree towards the end to make that effect.
Create depth. Yeah, if you've ever played like those scroller video games where the background is moving slower than the foreground, that's parallax. Yeah.
Or if you saw Lion King in 3D, you'll see that, like, because I just did, you'll see that the foreground is like all of the grass, it's blurry, right? And that's what creates that effect that it feels like it's in front of you, but then Simba's in the back. Yeah. So that's really important. So I wanted to divide these to the sky. Okay, Command D. So I want to grab my rectangular.
Welcome.
My rectangular the animation frame by frame option. Yes, I started using the frame by frame option It is a little bit limiting for sure, because it just lets you do some things. And I'm gonna teach you some other more like creative options. But that is, I welcome you guys to just experiment with the frame by frame option, which is this little icon down here. I don't know if I can zoom it, but this tiny thing here. When you click it, it will ask you if you want to continue to make your layers into frames, and it'll right away make these like frames so that you can see the animation like one by one. That it's a little bit limiting in my opinion, but it is a good entry level for you to experiment with the opacity of something or the transition of just point A to point B, not so much like more complex.
Yeah, Alberto, frame by frame is more like stop motion, and yeah, it's more like traditional.
Yeah. So
animation.
if you were to do stop motion with your camera, where you just place something and then you take one picture and then you place another thing, that's exactly the same concept. Yes, Alberto, that's right on.
Yes, and Julia is asking if it's difficult to create GIFs in Photoshop. No, it's not. It's very simple, and frame by frame can be really handy for GIFs, or it's a exporting option once we have this video made. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then I want to grab my marquee tool, and then I'll grab the sky like this, and a command. Let's go to layers. Command paste. Right, so now we have the sky. That was that sky that I had earlier. And then I'll grab the same marquee tool, and then I'll copy the base, which is the water. Right, so command paste. And so I already have them up here, but you can sort of see what that looks like. I'm actually gonna remove these so that I can let you guys see what that looks like. So I'll name this sky. I'll name this water.
Yay for naming layers as you go.
Yes, and I'll just like paint them blue because it gives me like an easy, okay, I know sky and water is blue. One of the things that I found that was difficult was when I tried to animate the sky, I couldn't really see the clouds. So I converted it into a smart object, and I went in the sky and actually added more clouds so that it's more obvious that it's moving. That was sort of hard to detect.
And we kind of touched on smart objects yesterday, but they're basically like Photoshop documents within a Photoshop document.
Yeah.
So you can kind of nest
Like
things.
Inception.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always great because you don't want to flatten your work. You want to be able to always have an opportunity to go back and try to customize it and do more things into it. So I'm going to clone step these few clouds are here. They're not the most dramatic clouds, but it's kind of interesting to have a little more.
Nice.
So I'm using the clone stamping tool, grabbing a source, which is this base down here, and then just slowly copying it again.
Cool.
Right? And then if you don't want it to be too perfect, just sort of like add a few more there. I actually don't like that. It's weird.
Carrie Ann with some nice chaotic energy. I never rename my layers. Just roll with it. You do you.
Yeah.
Go for it.
You know, that is the creative, like,
Yes.
spirit.
Just go. Don't think about it. Just
Be
like,
disorganized.
go for it.
Believe me,
it.
it took me a long time. I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
it's somewhere in there in the folder. So here on the water, I'm also going to convert that to smart object, because when we move this, that little guy, this poor little guy, is going to actually disappear, and that's going to be too obvious. We don't want the viewer to detect that we're moving this in a strange way. So I'm gonna just remove this little guy. And the way I do that is I use the spot healing tool, or J, the letter J, and then it just has the content aware turned on. So what it does is it detects anything around it, and the area that you've clicked on, it will just replace it with the things around it.
So
Yeah.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite tools. I think I just like automatically press J for no reason nowadays.
Christopher is asking if you can have the same image span over multiple artboards, and yes.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we touched on that a little bit yesterday, especially because I think a lot of you enjoy doing those, is it more like panoramic slides on the Instagram grid? And so we learned how to just attach these two, for example. This is one single image. And we're able to just like transfer it over by dropping it. I don't know, should I explain that again?
Yeah, I mean, Christopher, if you want to rewatch the replay yesterday.
Yeah, sort of at the beginning, yeah.
It's pretty simple, and you can also...
I use that a lot, actually, especially when I'm trying to use the slides.
Yeah.
It's really helpful, and it's very fast.
If anyone else wants to see how that's done, we have a good collective thumbs up for showing that again. We can definitely do that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have our sky separate from our water, right? And like, let's turn the sky off. So, sky, water. The sky is a little bit grabbing too much of that water, right? So let's delete that bit of water.
So I think there was a question earlier about how long it takes you to create your Instagram stories, if we weren't interrupting you every 5 seconds, as we are right now.
It depends, because we touched on this yesterday also. I think it's important to, once you create something really cool, to keep it almost as a template, so that you can just click on the vector image, the smart image, and you can just replace it with something else, and then that stays true to that like layout that you've created. So now it takes me a little bit less time, but once in a while I'll experiment and start from scratch and do something brand new. Like when I go to a brand new place, when I went to Arizona, I just started from scratch, and I was just like, what was Arizona like? What really captivated me about it? And I decided to do everything red, because I went to the Valley of Fire, which is this national park, and the sand is red. It's so amazing. Yeah. So sometimes you have to start from scratch, because you want to captivate that that new concept that you're trying to explore. Don't stick with the same thing forever.
Yeah. Use templates, but mix it up every now and then.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna crop that and save, because there's a little bit of the water in the base. There, that's a little bit better.
Lucho's happy. He said the pixel would have bothered me forever. Thanks, agreed.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta get rid of it.
It's kind of funny how that happens.
It's one of those things that a lot of people wouldn't even see in your story, but like, if you know it was there, you knew it was there.
Yeah, so that can make it time consuming, because we are very like fixated on the little things. Right, like that. So so for this timeline, okay, so what I want to do here is I want to make this water look like it's coming forwards, right? And one way that I like to simplify animation is if you can do it here, like if you can watch this, just do this, you can animate it, right? If this is already an animation. What the timeline does is it allows you to determine that at second 0, it's here, and at second 10, it's here. And it'll figure everything in between for you, which is amazing, because, I don't know, like the computers do everything for us nowadays. But
yeah, so you're essentially just setting that beginning and end point, and
the
then
beginning
it's doing
and
the work.
Yes, exactly. So I'm always just sort of playing around. If I can see it happen here by default, I can definitely do it in the timeline. And in this case, the way I did this is by using transform. So we're gonna wanna look for the option of transform within the timeline. So let's leave this here for now. One of the things that used to confuse me before was I wouldn't see some of these elements like transform, opacity, style. And that happens because your layer is not a smart object. So whenever that happens, just make sure your layer is a smart object, and it will give you those extra options to transform your layers.
We have chat and win about 5 minutes, so get ready for that. But we're gonna keep working until then.
Yes. So okay. So now I have my water here. Let's focus on the water. And the water. This little tool here kind of expands and minimizes. You see, it's like a little mountain. It kind of helps your workflow, because it's hard to see sometimes. I'm almost whispering, because I'm like looking at the little things.
Very focused.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the water. And so what we want to do is set a time of, so point A to point B, right? So right now I want it to look like this. So I'm going to set a timer and transform. I'm going to click that little button, and that sets a keyframe. This little yellow thing is called a keyframe. And so then I'm going to move forward in the timeline. And when I get to the very end, I want to transform this to look like a lot bigger, right? So then what I'll do is I'll go back to my layer and then press Command T to transform, and then use these numbers up here to just like increase it, right? And wherever I end, let's say it's there because I don't want it to go too fast. Depending on how much that distance is, or how extreme the change is, it might look faster. If my change is very slow, then it looks slower. Just it's small, then it'll look slower. So let's set it up there. So when I press OK, right, it automatically sets a time frame right here.
Very cool.
At the end, which is really neat because then you don't have to set the time frame again. And the first one you click it, and the second one you don't. So then that's kind of what that looks like.
Nice. So essentially we're just doing what Photoshop is doing, but recording it and then animating.
Right,
Almost.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If any of you are familiar with After Effects or Premiere, the timeline functions a very almost identical way with those keyframes. And
so this is why I really enjoy playing with all the options that Photoshop has, because it gives me sort of like, I feel like a novice, but then like I enter this space and I feel a little bit more familiar with the other elements that Photoshop Premiere or After Effects introduce. Because once you jump into Premiere, it seems overwhelming that there's so many things there. But when you understand the concept, you're like, okay, so I can see where this begins. I can do the basics.
Yes, yeah. We all know how to, or I hope we all know at this point, how to transform something in Photoshop. And essentially we're just doing that, but letting the timeline fill in the space between where it started and where it ended.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you add music to your stories? Yes, Julia. I love adding music. Right now I'm playing a little bit with sound design. So I actually have this recording of the beach. Just set my mic. Sometimes you can set your phone to just record things, and then you can place it over. I did do that in Premiere, though. That's something that I like doing, just to give a photo a little bit of life. I think that's sort of the challenge that I'm always after. It's not quite a video, but it's just like bringing that photo to life, extending it from its first, just no move.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're still showcasing, Sim's photography, just activating it. So.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mind blown with the force, Alberto. That's really cool.
A lot of blown minds today. Yay. That's what we like to do here on
Yes.
I
think it's going well.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's do the same thing with the sky now that I have a few more clouds, although they're too uniform for my taste, but for lack of time, you can always play around. That's sort of when it can be time consuming, but I don't see it as time consuming when you're just exploring and figuring out what you know and what your taste is. That's always worthwhile. So let's play with the sky now. So the sky, we want to move it in the opposite direction. So if we increased the water, we want to decrease the sky. So then that means that our starting point has to begin with the sky being slightly larger. So let's go here, Command T again.
And while we watch, remember that Chat and Win is about 30 seconds away, so get ready with those keyboard fingers to chat away. Win some stickers from Sticker Mule.
Let's put the sky behind the water, so then we're able to do that. Let's see if I did this right, okay? Yeah, so then now we have the sky bigger, and if we were to just get a preview here, that's sort of what that would do. It would go from big to small.
So that's our cliffhanger before we
Yes.
get ready to chat. And
we're moving the sky.
All right. Chat and Win. Happening now. Woo! Chat and Win time. Since we're on the theme of beach today, why doesn't everyone tell us where they went on vacation last? Let us know where you want to go or where you went.
Yeah. What was your summer like? And it's okay if you didn't have a beach. It's still sort of interesting. Yeah.
I grew up in San Diego, so that's my home beach.
Oh.
I like it there. Photoshop beach.
Photoshop beach, yeah.
Woo! Nice. Stickers, yay! Everyone, chat.
I love it.
Oh, I love the new
all
emoji, like
those
all the emojis going on today.
I was gonna say the same.
So excited.
Ooh.
Stickers? Stickers? Do we have the stickers? Ooh, we have someone from Bali. Oh, nope. Noir is not from Bali.
You have to go on holiday, Carrie.
He likes Bali. Nice.
Last trip was Atlanta. It's kind of
Which is good. Nice. I just like the stickers. The call for
Yes.
stickers. Insatiable call for stickers.
Yeah. I love stickers. Place them everywhere I travel.
All right, we have a winner.
Catherine.
Catherine, congratulations. Yay. Good job, everyone. Nice chatting. So for everyone who did not get a chance to win those free stickers, good news, we have a discount code for you. If you go to stickermule.com/Adobe Live, you will get a nice discount. So that's exciting. So congratulations to Catherine, and for everyone else, make sure you check out Sticker Mule for those discounted stickers.
Yes.
Yay.
I'm gonna check that out too.
Yes, me too. I know, I need some more. I have gaps in my
They
screen.
run out, and I was like, yes, you do. I didn't want to tell you earlier.
So embarrassing. There are spaces on my laptop. Yours
Okay.
is fully covered though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay minimal. How do you do the emoticons?
I think that's in chat now. If you
Mhm.
click on that little smiley next to the chat input, I think that's where you can get all of your emojis. That's exciting.
How was I late?
Oh.
Harvey.
Gotta install that Chrome add-on
Yeah.
for those updates.
Yes.
Notifications.
Yeah. Or you turn on the notification even when it's not live yet. Yes.
Always helpful.
Okay, so we're gonna animate the sky. You're just in time to animate the sky, so you're good, Harvey. Okay, so let's see. So we're gonna go back to our timeline here. So like we were mentioning earlier, we're gonna actually do the opposite of the water. So we're gonna start big and then end small because we did small to big for the water. So
Harvey, lucky you for living a mile away from the beach. Every day is vacation day.
yeah.
I'm jealous.
Okay, so let's do the same thing. This animation is based on transform. So that's good to know. The way that you've modified that layer was based on transform. So we'll click the little watch here to set the keyframe at the beginning. And right now that keyframe is showing my frame, my layer as this big, right? That's pretty big right there. And then we're gonna go and move a little forwards, actually in this case towards the end. And then we're going to transform that going in. So then it'll look sort of like that. My shift doesn't work. Okay, it's there.
Lucho is asking about animating a liquefied layer with the transform keyframes. I've never done that myself, but I believe that you can if you have it as a smart object or if you flatten that liquefied.
Yeah, you're making
It's already
my brain work. Yeah, definitely. Or you can also, which is something we're gonna do later, you can also set the opacity. You can have two layers and set the opacity of the one that's non-modified to eventually like go disappear and showcase the modified one, which will look like they're just like one and the same.
so you're
I
almost animating that liquefy effect. I see.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love the liquefy.
Yeah, Harvey, you're gonna have to play around with that and get back to us.
Yeah. Let's see, Harvey did. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna, let's see, that animation just does this. Oop, I think I actually had to have this underneath. Let's see.
Having the color coordinated layers is super handy.
Exactly. I might have done this backwards. Yeah, it's really handy because it's always hard to find.
Lucho, frame by frame would be the best option. Yeah, you could do it that way too.
It's like weird warping.
Yeah, incrementally changing that liquefy as you go. That could definitely work. It might look a little bit stop motion-y, but you could use some opacity to blend them too.
Yeah,
idea.
so let's move on to the sand. I think I'm gonna do that here. Okay, so then we have the sand here. We had colored it that yellow color. The sand is something really interesting because I want the sand to sort of just appear, and we'll like just remind ourselves what we're trying to do here. So you'll see the sand just sort of appearing from the right-hand side. Right, so this is where I like using, and I love using masks. So if you guys are not familiar with masks, I invite you to get crazy with it because I really, really love using it for so many different reasons. And in animation, it really works out really amazingly because you're able to sort of just hide elements and reveal them. And so you can do whatever you want. You can also use a different shape so that the reveal doesn't have to be a square. It can be whatever you want. But the key with mask is always whatever is black will be hidden, whatever is white will show, right?
Awesome.
So that's sort of what my mask looks like right now.
So we're going to animate the mask here.
So we're going to be animating the mask, exactly. So in this case, we're going to go to the timeline and we have the sand. So let's like remove this just so I can show you what it actually looks like. So here we're going to be animating the mask. So the mask option, remember, we want to make sure that we have our layers in vector mode. And we have now added a mask. And the way you do that is, let's say we delete this. You can add a mask down here, add layer mask. When you just click it, it adds a white mask. When you click it by holding Alt, yes, by holding Alt or Option, it adds a black mask, which means anything black will be hidden.
I did not know that. Learned something new today.
Yeah, it's a lot faster that way, so
Very
you don't
cool.
have to inverse it or anything like that. So in this case, I'm gonna add a black mask and I'm gonna add a little piece of, like a little square, almost like that, of white. So we're gonna go here and then the background color here is gonna be white. And if you press Command Delete, that just like adds the white to your mask.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, if you guys are not familiar with masks, they are so multi-purpose. In Photoshop.
Multi-purpose. And in fact, masks are some like a universal tool because you use them in all of the other programs as well, like in InDesign, Premiere, Illustrator. I mean, I've seen them everywhere. So
Yeah.
if you thought the pen tool was universal, masks is definitely its cousin, faraway cousin.
Cartier, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Have you ever tried animate anything with double exposure? It's a great idea.
I love that.
That'd be beautiful.
See, I love how creative you guys are getting.
Yeah.
The options are endless, but definitely if you've seen a weird effect when you're transitioning from one to another, you could possibly animate that. You could just think about how it begun and where you want it to end, and you can try to animate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Photoshop artist and you can do really complex things with Photoshop already,
Yeah.
why not try animating something that you already have done?
For sure. Yeah.
You don't have to go out and learn After Effects right away.
Yeah, I would love to see that. If you guys experiment and find a new way to animate, definitely share it with me, share it with us. I think it's such a cool opportunity to just like get weird with it.
Definitely, yeah. Munir, hi, welcome to the stream. Nice to see you.
Double exposure animation are so pleasing to watch. Okay, so then what we're gonna do here is make sure this little link is removed because that's gonna allow us to just play around with the mask. So the mask is no longer attached to it because if we have it linked, it just moves the entire image with the mask. If we have it unlinked, now we clicked, right, selected. Make sure you don't have the other guy selected because you can also move that inside that window.
Works both ways, yeah.
Both ways, yeah. So don't freak out. You can always just like select the mask. And then when you select the mask, then you can move it around. And this could be an animation. Like some really cool window situation here where you get to see like each umbrella.
That's such a cool effect. It's
Yeah,
so
like-
interesting.
That might be cooler.
Yeah.
So then, okay, we're gonna do this. I am working on masks, so then what we're gonna be focusing on in the timeline is this little guy that says layer mask position, right? Because we're in fact moving the position of the layer mask. So we're gonna start in this little section. Actually, I wanted to begin when it's hidden, so I'll push it all the way up. So I'll start when it's hidden, open my timeline again, and then set the timer here. So that timer is based on wherever the layer mask position is at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So again, we're starting at the beginning of our timeline here.
At the beginning of our timeline. So we're not being too complex here and like going in the between just yet.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go just from point A to point Z, I guess in this case. Yes.
From the beginning all the way to the end.
All the way to the end. So then here, we're gonna want to bring that same, so we're gonna click on the mask again and we're gonna move it in, right? But instead of just doing that, we're actually gonna transform it, which might seem like it's part of transform, but it's not. It's all we're doing is expanding that white area. So we're doing that like this.
And the photo is just in that position.
Yeah, the photo hasn't moved this entire time yet.
Right.
So then we're gonna
Very
go to
cool.
timeline, and that should set that timeline position. Let me see if I did that right. Maybe not. It's usually something that I notice is if it's not the right move, it won't set that keyframe. So let me redo that.
Can be picky sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, trial and error is a good thing. Teaches you new things. And
Now I know I can do that instead.
yeah.
Say undo, free transform. So let's say I have this guy here, layer, timeline. Okay, so we have that. And then we'll move to the very, very end. I want to say that definitely should have worked, but if it's not that.
Alberto says Adobe Cadabra.
Adobe
I like
Cadabra.
that. It's like a riff on the Adobe Magic thing we say a lot. When we can't explain the technical aspects of what's going on and it just happens in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Or XD or
Sometimes
whatever.
weird things happen and I actually end up liking
Yeah.
it. I think that happened to my palm tree. Like I just moved it and I was like, oh, that actually looks better.
Yeah, just playing
Um,
around.
I see. So
Experimenting.
we have the palm.
There we go. Nice.
Yeah, layer. That's this. Oh, I think that's what happened. So actually, correction. So you want to actually begin, although this would have been really cool with the windows. I actually need to begin with my layer already this big, right? Let's say showcasing the entire space. And we're troubleshooting here, which is so much of like just design life in general.
Yeah, I think we all learned, or
Yeah.
at least I learned Photoshop just by playing around and making mistakes and
Yeah.
saying what's that tool, what does it
Yeah,
do?
I honestly think that, and this is something I learned along the way, but when I had my first job, I had to troubleshoot so often. And my creative director at the time, he told me, he's like, this is how you become an expert. When somebody comes here, I interview them and I ask them if you can troubleshoot.
Yeah.
I was like, what, really? I thought that was making a mistake, you know? I thought that was me slowing things down, but actually that means that you can problem solve on your own.
What a good perspective on that. Yeah.
He's a great creative director.
Yeah, especially when you're learning something new. Making a mistake is not a bad thing. It just kind of exposes a new area to figure out what's going on and just like you
Right.
said, troubleshoot.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
So what we figured out here is that we actually have to begin with the dimension that we want to end with, right? That way. So then you can see that that little square that I had wasn't what I needed. I needed this big space because that's the one that we want to move. We don't want to transform in between. So let's do that. We'll set up our layer mask position and then come back here. Oh, we have to set our layer mask position when it's out. So now we have this guy looking like that, and we're gonna move it until there is no image. So basically what I did is I moved it up here,
Okay.
which is what confused me. I thought I started that way.
Kind of going
But it's still,
backwards.
yeah. So it still exists that way. And so now we can set that layer mask position. We'll go all the way to the end and then go back to layers. And this guy we're gonna move in. So now we're gonna move it like that. So that will be my end.
So this is just a position shift now.
A position shift. Yes. And so you see right away the keyframe was included. So that means we did this right.
Good. Yay.
Okay.
Moment of truth. Woohoo! We got it.
Wow.
Yes, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of motion going on already, and we've really just animated 3 layers so far.
Yeah, 3 layers, and we focused on transform, which is 1, and then also layer mask positions. So that's already, I think you can do so many weird things with that.
Yeah.
That's always my goal. If I can do weird things with it in the future, I'm sticking with it.
We have keyboard fingies
Yeah.
going on in the chat right now.
What is it?
Typing loudly, keyboard fingies. I think we missed the
Mechanical
context
keyboard
on that one,
fingies,
Erica,
yeah.
but we like it. We're fans of keyboard fingies.
Serendipity. I love that word.
Yeah. I like those orange chairs with the teal ocean. We got some color theory going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
Yeah, I
balance of
love
the
that.
images.
Yeah, you know, when you're an artist, it's not just blue.
Mm-mm. it's teal and burnt umber orange. Wait, I think I
Yeah.
got that right.
Yeah. So I was playing with this, and yesterday we didn't include this palm tree here, but I thought it could be cool because of what we were talking about earlier, creating that 3D space. You want to have something in the foreground, almost like blurry, so it makes it feel like there's depth in this image. So I ended up bringing this palm tree last minute. And this is sort of how I did that. I'm going to delete that. I think this is a very useful tool for anyone to have. So I actually had my palm tree all the way down here. And so I didn't actually include it in my cover yet. And I don't know if any of you guys caught that, but if you did, good attention to detail. It's always important. So this palm tree, I want it to be included into my cover now because I just got creative and wanted to make that decision. So what I do here is I can right click and I want to go to duplicate layer, and then I want to find the name of the file I'm working on currently. And the file I'm working on right now is called Adobe Cover Test Lab, which is when I'm playing with things. Okay, so then when you press OK, it's gonna automatically make copy of that in here. So it places it in the same exact place. So it's up to you if you want to move it, but that's one easy way to toggle between pictures or elements that you have here. I can do this to this like little rectangle if, again, I right click, duplicate layer, go find the name file, test lab, and then press OK, and that little guy appears in the same exact position.
Super handy to know. I know I've used the dragging the layer into the tab from another document, but that
you'll
doesn't
grab
change
it out. You'll take, yeah, and that can get very chaotic.
Yes, it can.
Yes. So then, let's take out this little square guy because I didn't want you here.
Cartier is asking for some font magic. Stay tuned.
It's font magic. Yes. That's the very end because the goods come at the end. So, okay, so now we have this palm tree. I wanted to, this palm tree right now is really, it's great, it looks beautiful, but I want to make it blurry because I want the eye to feel like it's actually looking at the background, like the sea is actually the background, and this palm tree is in the foreground. Right, we're trying to play with planes of 3D space. So what I'll do is I'll make a copy of this one by pressing Command J, and that makes an automatic copy, and it also copies the mode, which in this case is subtract.
Sin is the queen of keyboard shortcuts.
Yes, I love shortcuts.
So many.
Whenever people, that's honestly saves me who knows how many years of my life.
Yeah. And Erica, yes, that is Cooper Black, you see.
Yeah, yes.
Erica's such a fan of Cooper Black.
Right? We should make a team of that because I don't think anybody's as passionate about it. I'm like, you don't know this font. I love it. So, okay, so then I want to make this guy blurry, right? So then we're going to apply this layer mask. I had this layer mask kind of earlier, just kind of making that edge fade because they had like a straight edge. So now we have this guy looking like this, and we want to make it look like it's out of focus from the camera point of view, but also from your eyesight, right? The camera is only but like a machine trying to copy your eye and the way your eye works. So what we're gonna do is go to filter. We're gonna go to blur, and I love using Gaussian blur. You can also use surface blur, which is a little bit closer to a camera sort of lack of focus. But I like Gaussian blur a lot. I think it's very graceful and soft.
Classic, yeah. Classic Photoshop blur.
Classic. So then you'll see right away, like if you come back here, it's sharp, right? And then if you go all the way out, it disappears. It becomes a fog. And so you want like somewhere around here, so it's just enough that it blurs.
Really creating that sense of depth. Very cool.
That's it's almost like an illusion, right?
Erin, glad you're enjoying the stream. Hope you're learning some stuff. Thanks for joining.
Yeah. So then we have this one and we have the focused one. So let's name them accordingly. So we have blur, and then we have sharp, right? Focused, sharp. Okay, so then let's color these the same. Green and green. So we can find them easily in our timeline down here.
Yeah, those color coding or flags for the layers become so useful once you're using the timeline.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a point where you're gonna give up if you can't figure out where your things are, and it makes the whole workflow a little bit more pleasurable.
Yeah, between naming our layers and adding those color codes, it makes it really simple to transition into the timeline.
So what I want to do here on the blur is actually bring it a little bit down, just so that I can almost also create a movement. So it goes like this. So right now it looks weird, right? So what we want to do in the animation, in this case, we want to play with the opacity. So I want to see what it looks like when it does this, and then when it appears. So from here to here. And again, if you can do it here, you can do it in the timeline. All you're doing is telling the timeline to do it from point A to point Z.
I think our marketing teams are going to have to steal that. If you can do it there, you can do it in the timeline.
Yeah.
Animating in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Thank you, Photoshop marketing team.
So then we're going to go find these guys. Let's set this opacity. The opacity is perfect. Okay, good. So let's go find these guys here. Let's play with, so this is what we were referring to earlier. Maybe if you want a file, you can have the file reveal another file. So it almost looks like it's warping into something new, but in fact, it's just like there's two layers of the same copy. So that's gonna be helpful if you wanna do something weird like warping, and you have the one that's normal, and then you want it to transition to the warping, you can use the opacity as the transitioning effect. So let's play with the sharp. So what we want the sharp to do, let's turn off blur. Let's blur the turn off. So, okay, let's focus on sharp right now. And what we want the sharp to do is sort of fade. So right now we want it to be at 100 opacity, so it shows everything. And then we go to 0. At the point that we place it at 0, we'll introduce the blur one at 100. So let's set this opacity now because it's at 100. And when we walk in here, maybe you don't have to do it towards the end. That might take too long. You can do sort of when this guy starts revealing itself. So it's a little bit somewhere in between. And we're gonna change that opacity to 0, right? And that sets that time, that keyframe again.
Yeah, it's really handy having those automatic keyframes pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How to avoid procrastinating on finishing something you're working on. Isn't that the question we're all asking ourselves? I don't know if there's an answer to that question.
Pretend like you're in Japan's time zone.
Yeah.
So it's already tomorrow.
Oh,
So then you're like...
Time warping.
Yeah, now we're time warping. But it just like, I work best when I think it's due tomorrow.
Yeah.
When I was applying, funny story, which I think a lot of my Adobe, like fellow Adobe residents have. When I was applying for the Adobe Creative Residency, I was in the East Coast time zone. So for me, I thought it was already going to be 12 o'clock. So I was freaking out. I was trying to submit everything. So I was trying to make it perfect. And then I realized, oh, we're 3 hours ahead. I still have 3 hours. So then I had this chance to just like make it really good, but then like add 3 more hours to make it even better.
Yeah, so just put yourself in a mental different time zone.
Yeah,
good.
So
I mean, change all your clocks.
I didn't do that on purpose, but maybe you can do it.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Change your clocks one day, you'll forget.
Or change it the night before, sleep on it, forget about it.
Yeah.
Wake up the next morning.
You might like just trick yourself. It might work.
It's like that Office episode where, what is it, Dwight convinces,
there's always an Office
or Jim
episode.
convinces Dwight that it's Friday or something like that.
Yeah.
If anyone knows that episode, let me know if I'm screwing up
Let
my
me know
memory.
numbers.
Very cool. Yeah, between procrastinating and not naming our layer names and color coding, we got some nice chaotic energy.
I forgot I have this Photoshop.
Oh yeah. Well,
Everything is like a little Photoshop or Adobe.
yeah, everything's branded here.
So let's see, okay, what we're doing here. So we started to fade our sharp layer, and what we're gonna do is bring this playhead, right? This little guy here, I don't know, I haven't even introduced him, but this is the guy that's gonna allow us to kind of just review what we've done so far, but also place keyframes in a certain part of the timeline, right? So then we're gonna place it right above. So right now, the only 2 files I have open is blur and sharp. And you see, because I click this button here, I can see the keyframes. So it's helpful because I want to align when this one disappears to when the blur appears. So we're gonna set the opacity of blur here at 100. I'm sorry if I moved too fast on that one, but just what I did is, because it's already placed here, it's right above the same exact timeline. I think it's right above it, yeah. If not, you can zoom in. Yep, it's right above. There you go. And then at that point, we want the other one to appear. And it might be a little bit before, but this is sort of where we're gonna begin so that we get an idea.
Yeah, we've been showing placing your keyframes at the beginning and end of your timeline, but you can also do it in the middle or wherever.
Right. And that sometimes is determined by the music, which somebody was mentioning earlier. If you don't have music, it's also wherever things are ending or beginning, there's sort of a rhythm to that too. So when the sand is appearing, it could be the beginning of the palm tree. It's really up to you at that point, but it's a few ways to kind of create some sense of dynamic.
Very cool.
Yeah. So let's okay, so we have now the blur. We're gonna have it at 100%. So we have the timeline there. We're gonna work backwards. And now we're gonna go to this section and make sure that, let's see, we're gonna make sure that the opacity now, it's at 0, right? So now we have the opacity at 0, and it begins introducing itself as the other one disappears.
Nice.
And we can play with that. So when you move the keyframes closer, the transition happens faster, but also you can just move them alongside so that you can know that when they're sort of in relation to the other ones, when they're going to happen, when they're going to be activated.
Gotcha. So you're setting the rate at which the transition is happening.
So you can see how that happens there. And it was helpful that we moved it a little bit down because it also gives that strange illusion that the palm tree's moving, but it wasn't. It's just placed downward a few pixels down.
It's a very ambient sort of movement. You know, it's not like the primary focus, but it's definitely contributing to that overall. depth effect.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's all about playing with almost illusions that you can create in Photoshop, and I think we're all very familiar with that because photo manipulation in itself is like entering imagination, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Reminder that we have portfolio reviews in just about a half an hour.
Ooh.
So get ready for that.
Yeah, those always made me nervous at first when I had to take them to people.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, okay, I didn't do that bad.
Yeah. Portfolio reviews can be intimidating, but you know, they're also a great opportunity to get your work seen and
Yeah.
get some feedback. They can be fun.
Yeah, it can be really fun. Also, when you are able to like get feedback from people that have been there already, you just,
Yes.
I don't know, they're just, you can't really guess what they're going to tell you that you can work on, and they might save you years
Yeah.
of discovering that on your own.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday about how social media allows you to kind of have these impromptu portfolios all over the place, right? On Instagram and your stories, and you can even use social media for portfolio feedback
Yeah.
in that way too, in
Yeah.
using polls and comment features and
Yeah, actually, Stefan Sagmeister does something
Yes.
like that. If
Yeah.
you guys are familiar with him, if you don't, some homework.
Yeah.
He's amazing, and he is very welcoming to submissions of work, any kind of work, which is really cool to have somebody review your work on social media.
definitely.
And if you guys want our feedback, I mean, I'm very willing to check out your work. So if you guys want to send me, DM me at Sun Lagos, I will check out your work and see where we can, give some productive feedback about photography, graphic design.
Yeah, I think a lot of creative professionals or even, beginner creative professionals at the beginning of their career are always really enthusiastic about giving feedback. And
Yeah.
you might be surprised at how willing to, interact with you they are. If there's a big designer on or on Instagram, reach out, send them your link, say, hey, if you have a couple seconds, take a look.
I've actually had people reach out to me and say, hey, I'm just starting school. I think I'm gonna do graphic design. I noticed that you went to the same school that I'm trying to go to, or you do graphic design. Can you give me some feedback? And right away, I'm just thinking, I'm impressed. Good job for doing this. It takes guts to just say, I'm just gonna reach out to a stranger and hope that this person cares enough to take the time to tell me anything. But it's worthwhile, and I think you're going to experience that, and I think we were talking about career building a lot yesterday as well. You're going to experience that when it comes to dealing with clients. It's the worst you can get is a no or enough, like crickets, but it's worth like just pitching your work. You can tell a client, hey, listen, I have a concept that I'm working on. I see that you guys have a brand that relates to my concept, or you guys have equipment that relates to my work, and I would love to, collaborate in something like this. And the word collaboration, it's something that people just toss around, but it really is a very sustainable relationship. Like the brand benefits from you reviewing their work or using their products and having an honest opinion, and then you get to benefit from having this opportunity to like connect with brands like that. And
Absolutely.
There's so many different ways. So I would say don't be afraid to DM people. I do this often. I did it at first, and now that I'm doing it, I'm like, wow, okay, everyone's very receptive to this idea.
Yeah,
So.
it can be intimidating at first to reach out, but once you have one under your belt, you can
Yeah,
get into
exactly.
a routine.
Yeah, then you can have almost like a mini portfolio of what collaborations you've done with other people, and you can just show it to the next person. I think the beginning is a little bit harder, but I mean, if you trust that you can deliver, I think that's worthwhile. Just trust. If you can deliver your work, then show that confidence. Show people some ideas or some concepts, and honestly, they're just happy because you've kind of done half of their job. They're like, I don't have any ideas right now, and this person just came up with this cool concept. Sure, I'm going to try this out. Yeah,
A true partnership.
yeah, true partnership.
Yes. Yeah. Feedback. Everyone wants feedback. Make sure you check out that portfolio review tab.
It's not
on
a no.
Behance.
It's not a no. It's not a no. It's a not yet. Oh, okay.
Nice. Carry in.
Yeah, that's a good
dropping that
mindset.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Hi, Fatima.
Hey, everyone.
Hashtag collabs. Yeah.
Yeah, Emmanuel and Fatima, thanks for joining. Glad you guys got us.
Yeah.
Hey, we still have a lot more animating to do, so you haven't missed too much yet.
Yeah, let me show you sort of what we're working towards. Yeah, so we're going to get to play with the fonts in a little bit, which is really nice. I think that the first time I tried to do this font animation, I did it in After Effects, so it looks like it's being handwritten. When I figured out how to do it in Photoshop, I was like, wow, okay, so this whole time I could have done it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Well, it's great to be able to animate from the same space that you're creating the artwork in.
Right,
You know?
right. So it's native to the same space, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who knows After Effects, you kind of get into that groove of going from Photoshop to After Effects or creating.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you don't know After Effects or you're more comfortable in Photoshop, this is a great option.
And I think this is very true also to how you are not confined to being just a graphic designer, just an animator, just an illustrator. Like the programs themselves are a testament to how you can also branch out to becoming an animator to a certain degree. You can learn new tools all the time because they're already here. So if one program can do that, you can definitely store that kind of knowledge within your like arsenal of like techniques that you know how to do. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Do you have any sources of inspiration or like go-to inspirational pools to pull from for motion?
For motion, I mean, I want to say there's two places that are always just such good curated work. Behance is definitely one of them. It's just amazing. It's all over the world. I think it's always been so life-changing to be able to see work from places that I didn't even think, you know, that did animation or I don't know, or just the different styles and aesthetics that they have. I've seen like really weird work from the Netherlands, which was really neat. In Instagram, however, there's been a brand new sort of like trend of doing just animation on your portfolios. There's some really great people out there doing some strange, sometimes like animating like things that look like skin, and I'm in awe that people can do that.
I saw a hashtag Team Weird earlier in the chat. We're loving that.
Yeah, we're loving that today. Yeah, for sure. Inspiration's definitely, you know, something that keeps changing. Sometimes inspiration could be online. Sometimes inspiration is the person that you talk to. So I really encourage you guys to, you know, get to know your local photography, graphic design community. When I did that right away, I had like, just a burst of energy because I knew that I can do it too. I know so many local photographers in Miami that just have really changed my sort of view and what photography can do. So definitely just like have some online sources, but then reach out to people, get to know your zip code.
Yeah, to recap what we're doing today, if you just tuned in, we are creating animated Instagram stories. And yesterday, Sin created those art boards. Maybe we could take a look at what we did yesterday real quick for the people who just jumped in.
Yeah.
And so yesterday we created these we're almost creating frame animation with these.
Right.
But today we are animating that cover card.
Yeah, so yesterday we were able to create this template of artboards, and what's really cool about this is that it's already set up on the sizes of Instagram. So you can determine that right at the beginning. You can make the sizes for Instagram's grid and Instagram stories. You're going to be really familiar with them eventually. 1080 by 1920, 1080 by 1350. And this just gives you the ability, especially on stories, to have just a larger space within the phone to be able to showcase your work. Like, I'm dying for Instagram to have 1080 by 1920 on the grid. Please, everyone.
Carrie Ann says, sounds weird.
Send Instagram a message.
Yeah. Overload them.
Yes.
We're from Adobe Live. We want this. Carrie Ann says she gets inspiration from for photos from sounds you hear. That's really interesting. Like, I want people to see what I heard. P.S. I work with deaf people. Wow,
Wow, that's amazing.
That's a beautiful prompt.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
What's really incredible about that is that you're taking the sources of your daily life and then putting them into photography, which is something I've been trying to encourage a lot of people to do. Yours is very, very peculiar to begin with, but even if it's not like something too unique, you know, I think it's still worth like stopping and considering like what do I want my photos to translate? In this case, sound. That's beautiful, very beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, finding unique sources of inspiration like that is a really interesting, and you can make a whole project out of it. You know?
Yeah, your inspiration can be something that already happened, you know, like history of art. I love the history of art. Being able to emulate those same aesthetics, but in photography with new technology instead of a paintbrush. So definitely branch out. Branching out is important. So we set this up and we were able to create some animations here, but we focused the animations not so much as an automated video, but an opportunity for the user to tap and reveal each element. And we're going to be able to see how that works later on the phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
So this is sort of my workflow and my setups to be able to show that and keeping all the elements in one space by just copying and pasting. But then switching just a few elements will allow that sense of interactivity to come through.
Yeah, so we're taking that just tap interaction from yesterday with those multiple artboards and animating.
Yeah, exactly.
Within. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and then the cover, I think it's one of the most, maybe it's just like an interesting thing to animate because one, you treat it like it's the cover of a book, so you want to like give it that extra mile, but also you want that attention grabbing right away.
Right off the bat. Yeah, especially if you have a longer story. You really want that hook in the beginning.
Yeah.
Keep people there.
Okay, so let's start animating. Should we start animating the fonts?
Sure. Nicole has a question about your photography, actually. I loved your portrait work in your portfolio. Could you speak to how you approach strangers to photograph them? Great question.
Oh, yes. My portrait work and my portfolio. It's interesting because in my current portfolio, the portrait work that I placed in there is specific to a series called We Are the Peoples. So it's We the Peoples, actually. So what's really cool about that is that each person is a stranger. I met them that same day, and that same day I photographed their portrait. It's so interesting because most people think that you're going to be faced with hostility, if maybe from you or from the other person. But I think it's a little bit like, if you're nervous, they'll be nervous. If you have something to hide or you're not being yourself, they're going to be nervous. But if you're just very forthcoming and you explain to them, listen, I'm working on this this project called We the Peoples, and it focuses on photographing strangers. I think you're a perfect person to photograph. Giving a compliment helps, especially because it comes from a true place. You probably are stopping and looking at this person because, I don't know, there's something that captivated you about them. So you want to tell them that.
Yes.
That transparency helps them feel like, okay, this is a friend, not a foe. And it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine if they take my picture. And in fact, most of the people that I photographed, they almost expect a certain level of attention because they know that they're dressing peculiar, or those who are not dressing peculiar and are not aware of their how intrinsic or like how interesting or different they are, will have like a harder time. But just make them feel at ease. I think that's always, be transparent, be very honest. And if they say no, then you say thank you, and then you move on.
Great advice. Yeah. Just talk to people, make them feel comfortable.
Yeah, we were talking about introverts yesterday, and that has helped me a lot in learning how not to be too much of an introvert and just talk to people in the streets. You realize that sometimes you make people's days. I've had people that I've just I photographed, and I was like, can I just photograph? I mean, you have this really cool hat, and I think that's one of the pictures there. It was in Manhattan, and then he was like, yeah, very nice. Like, can you send me that later? And I was like, yes. Actually, can I take a picture of you by the brick wall? And then he's like, that's great. And I'm like, can I take out my film camera though? And it just became like a lot more of a photo shoot. And he was so about it. He started asking me like how long I've been photographing, and we became friends
So
overnight.
awesome, finding those little connections.
So that's always worthwhile. You can always try. Maybe you won't get that entire story, but like, yeah.
What did we say earlier? It's not no, it's not yet.
It's not a no. Is it not yet?
It's not yet.
That's hard. That's
That's hard. Remember, everyone, to submit your portfolios if you want them reviewed by Sin today. We have just over 10 minutes until we do that. So
yes,
if you want your work reviewed, go
so
ahead
let's
and
play around with. Okay, so we have now a day off, our title, which is where we're gonna try to attempt to do this. This one's a little bit tricky because what happens here is that some of the elements of the letters are actually hidden behind the pictures. So we wanted to incorporate the picture with the font in this case. So we have the A underneath the umbrella, we have day sort of underneath the people relaxing, and the same thing with off, right? So that makes it a little bit tricky because I already had a mask on it, and it's hard to see this, but this is the mask that I had on that one. So what I have to do here is, let me see if I can start from the beginning, but what I have to do here, this is my letter A.
So this is from the design we made yesterday.
This is from the design. This is the original one, right? I just want to show you guys how I maintain that layer mask while still adding another layer mask. So what you want to do is make that into a smart object, and that's going to keep that layer mask in there without it being affected. So it's still there, but I can always recover that layer mask and play with it if I need to. It's not flattened out, and I think we're always working towards not flattening anything because you want the opportunity to change your mind and go back and try to play with it.
Non-destructive.
Non-destructive, exactly. Key. So I did that for this one, and when I converted it into a smart object, then I added a shape. I added, a layer mask. So now we have 2 layer masks. So let's see how I did that. Okay, so that's what that looks like right now. It's like funky. But that's because it's supposed to be behind the umbrella, right? So I made a copy of the sand here just to give myself a reference. That this sand is not animated, but I'm going to just keep it there for a reference. And I'll remove it later completely. So you'll see here that it exists here, but there's no animation in it.
Yes, Alberto, smart objects are like layers within layers.
Exactly.
Correct.
That's Inception.
Layer inception.
Layer inception.
Smart objects.
So then we have A here, and we're gonna add a layer mask by hitting Alt, and it's gonna be the opposite layer mask black, and it'll hide it, right? And what we wanna do is I want the A to look like it's coming out of the umbrella almost. You can decide in which direction you want the reveal to happen, but I want it to come out of the umbrella. So I want to pick an ellipse tool to make the white space that's going to be sort of the window to reveal my letter A. So I can do that, or I can do a brush and just paint that in white. Is that white? Oh, here it is. So make sure that your foreground color is there. So then that's white, right? And you don't really see anything there because that's not actually where the A is, but that's where we want to begin because we want it to start at the umbrella and then move forward.
So remember, with masks, it's white and black or shades of gray to reveal or hide.
Right, yeah. So then what I did there is this, right? We did this little circle. And so we want to unlink this because we want to animate the position of the mask, which is something we did earlier. And then we want to be able to reveal this, right? So something like that.
Very cool.
Let's see how I have this one.
So really easy, it's just a little window.
Yeah, it's just a little window. And I think if we learn anything from last time, we can't actually transform it. So we have to actually transform it now, make sure it's big enough.
Julia is asking if you have any good suggestions for books or podcasts about design.
About design. You know, sometimes when it comes to podcasts, I really like not listening to design things because you have to grab inspiration from other things outside of design. I love Radiolab. Radiolab is incredible. And
So good.
even though the topics aren't about design, the way Radiolab is created, it has given me like a new, like, I don't know, a new sense of respect for audio and audio production. The fact that I'm not watching anything, but I can completely imagine what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's just brand new respect for it. And I think they're the ones that are doing it the best. So I would say if you want to get a little bit about, learn a little bit about music or audio design, things like that, listen to Radiolab.
I was just listening to them this morning on my commute.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's great.
It's very popular.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about finding inspiration in non-traditional areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that if you can think about sound design, even if you're not a sound designer, in a very creative way or in a design-focused way, it's a good challenge for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, love Radiolab. Right, Matt?
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's just... Also, I love listening to Radiolab when I'm editing because it's just like something that I don't have to... I mean, I could listen to something and edit at the same time and feel like very at ease.
Yeah, and you're learning something in the background. Chad, if you have any good podcast or book suggestions for design or photography or creative stuff or non-creative stuff, since we're talking about Radiolab, drop it in the chat.
Yeah,
we might
for
learn
sure.
some stuff too.
I think I know more podcasts, but I can't think of them right now. Okay, so we have now this shape, right? And then when we move it forward, sort of from the right to left, we can see the letter A. So that's what we want to animate. We want it to start here, and then we want it to end here, where the A is appearing. And so I like that because it looks like it's coming out of the umbrella.
Wow, nice.
Right? So that's why I decided from right to left. Yes, right to left as opposed to left to right. Yeah, left to right just doesn't seem natural. It's like, what? Okay, sure.
Yeah, because it's coming out from underneath the umbrella.
It's almost like you're picking an element, so it seems like it's part of it. So we have to unlink that mask. Remember that, because if we want to move the position and animate it, it has to be unlinked. So we have the A here. I'm going to take this off so you guys can see how I did it. So we have the A here, and we're going to start with the layer mask position where we have it now because you can't see it. And then when we move a little forward, we want it to start revealing itself. And remember, the distance will determine that speed. So we can do faster, we can do slower. I want it somewhere there. You can always play with that later, right? So we're gonna move this layer mask until it shows everything.
Hi, Med. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for saying hi.
And you'll get to see that extra keyframe right there, and then you can see that happen.
Awesome. Yeah, so scrubbing through your timeline allows you to preview the animation that's happening. Cool.
Yeah, if I had to add sound, it would be really cool.
Just add our own sound effects over the top. Meow.
So that's like a cat.
Yeah, all my sound effects are cats. Just meows over everything.
Yeah. So then we have that, which is really cool already to just see how that happens. So we're gonna do the same thing for the other letters.
Yeah, so we've animated 3 layers, 4 layers, 5 layers.
We've actually animated more
5.
layers
Okay.
than that, but we've animated. It's interesting you think of them that way because we animated
Elements,
them in
yeah.
sections.
I should say elements, yeah.
Yeah, so it's in sections, we were able to see, we have like really in total here 4 colors. So we had these sections, we had different concepts for each. We animated opacity, we animated transform, we animated the mask positioning, and that alone has given us so much leverage to try different things.
Jamil asks, are you able to add special effects to the letters in Photoshop just as you can in After Effects?
As special effects, yeah, you can do maybe the style. So the style is based on the mode, so these modes. So it can begin with hard lights and it end with exclusion, for example. So that's something that, yeah, you can definitely do that.
And you can figure out ways to add different effects too, like color shifts and just like Sin said with the blending modes. It's definitely worth it to just play around and experiment what you can do. And if there's something in After Effects that you're trying to emulate, it just might take a little bit of playing around in Photoshop to figure it out.
Yeah, but actually that's the idea, that you're able to then imagine something bigger and then you have to transition to After Effects. That means you're probably getting to that expert mode, but it's great that you're already figuring it out in your head versus, you know, just allowing an application to figure out the algorithm and whatnot. This is where you get to be creative because you understand the concept.
Yes.
To begin with, yeah.
It's almost like learning a new program, right? If you've never animated in Photoshop, the best way that I've learned to learn is to just play around.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're gonna animate the word day. So we're gonna do the same thing, add a mask. We're gonna add a mask hitting Option. So in this case, I want my mask to also, it's not gonna come out of an umbrella in this case, but I want it to just look organic. So I'm not gonna make a square. I'm gonna actually do selections with circles. And that is just something that I like doing because it makes the selection look like way more organic and not like it's just sliding in from like a specific window. Which is, I think, the most common animation I've seen. So then I'll do something like that. Continue adding. So I'm adding by hitting Shift and just dragging and opening. Adding more of that layer. So then now we're gonna use the brush tool, or you can make the white your background and then Command Delete, and that just like adds that there. And so it didn't select everything, so then I'll continue adding some more.
So what keyboard shortcut are you using to add to your selection?
What, wait, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, you're using I missed the part earlier where you were adding to the selection that you made with the original marquee tool.
Yeah, the marquee, so I'm just adding it.
I always just assume that you're using keyboard shortcuts. That's your thing, queen of keyboard shortcuts.
So Command Delete, and then you get to see that. And you can find your own way of doing that, but I don't know, I really enjoy the randomness of just selecting this like this.
Creating a very organic shape.
Right, and then maybe unselect this because we don't want other things to show up. And what you can do is hit X to toggle between those black and whites, foreground, background. And so if you have the black in the background, Command Delete will hide it, right? So that's sort of how that works.
Very cool.
Or you can just also, you can see how it looks.
Previewing it.
Yeah, so you can preview it, and then if you want, you can use the brush to say, like, actually, I don't want this area. I want this area, I don't want this area, things like that.
Nice. Yes, Val says she's never thought of using the ellipse tool for something like this. Yeah. Learning to use those basic tools in new ways is always super fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's never endless. So it just always keeps
Val's loving it. All right, we are getting ready for portfolio review in just a couple of seconds. So we're going to be back to Photoshop soon. But now we're going to space and getting ready for portfolio reviews. space.
Oh my god.
I love going to space. It's my favorite part. Okay, I think the atmosphere is breathable. Oh, wait. Still figuring out the helmet. Ugh. Putting space helmets on curly hair is always
It's
so
not
fun.
easy.
All right. Welcome to space. We made it.
Space. We made it. This is really nice.
Yeah, I know, right?
If I imagine my shuttle, it would look like this. Yeah,
I'm
pretty
down.
cool.
Taking it. All right, so we have a couple of reviews, portfolio reviews to go through. So I'm gonna let you drive and let you click around. But to start off with,
Captain
we
mode.
have Matt Fowler. So please feel free to click around, and we're gonna take a look at Matt's work.
Wow.
Really nice presentation, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Using that header on Behance that you can put on Behance. It's
Yeah,
really great.
animated header. This is really cool. Introduction. I always like when someone doesn't just like write a headline in the basic way. It's like, oh, let me make this a poster.
Yeah, really using the customization that Behance allows you to do instead of just adding text. That's really cool.
Purple rock scissors. Ooh, play in words.
So this is a product design company. This is a branding product, it looks like. Video and animation.
They exist to be sandbox of challenging explorations where they unapologetically push boundaries and explore our world. I like that motto.
Nice. Yeah, really nice presentation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this has sound. Unfortunately, I don't know if we can play
Did
sound
you
from
hear?
here.
No.
Really nice motion.
Purple. Wow. Beautiful. This is so nice.
Mm-hmm. Probably, it's hard to tell. It looks like this was probably done in After Effects maybe, but you could
Or
break
Premiere,
this down,
yeah.
or Premiere, but you could break this down in some Photoshop animations too.
Mhm. Yeah, you can definitely analyze some of the work you see here and just try to see if you can repeat this in Photoshop. Especially these like reveal moments or just like having things come in from the left or from the right, things like that. But this is a beautiful animation. I like it.
Yeah, really nice.
Commit, explore, do great work.
It looks like Purple Rock Scissors is based in Orlando. So, Florida, represent. Very cool.
Oh, that's so nice.
Nice.
Content creation, social content creation is a valuable asset to any company. Yes.
Yeah, those little ambient animations are they're really valuable. You know, having that big video animation is great,
Right.
but having something like that is really cool too.
Yeah, it's also really nice that you're presenting each layer sort of with a bit of animation, so then you sort of capture people's attentions right away. But it's almost like each one you created here is different, and that's really nice. But there's a connection.
Yeah, those same principles of bouncing between those more complex animations to the more subtle animations are kind
Yeah,
of...
you almost want to give people, every time you're presenting something, yeah, there's animation and there's pause, right? So you want to have that sort of the dynamic that we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of presenting your portfolio, what do you think about the flow that Matt has going on here?
I think it's very organized.
Yeah.
I think it's giving me a good insight on his abilities, but also this large format, even in like just kind of bleeding out, coming out of the frame is really cool.
Creating some visual intrigue in addition to displaying.
So your layout design is also displaying here, even though that's not what this project is about. I can tell that you have some good aesthetics as far as layout design.
Really nice. Yeah, everything's very cohesive. Nice type.
Wow.
Hey, Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Yay.
Your use of shadows creates a sense of dimension.
And in closing.
In closing, right. So he treated this space the same way we were talking about stories. You have an intro, you have a body, you have a conclusion, but also in between you're creating some very dynamic elements like videos, but also elements that are just static, that are not moving. So it's almost a pause, a little bit of copy to give insight on what this is about. So this is really, really well done, Matt. This is exactly, I think, the way you should approach portfolio, the way you should approach also showcasing your work. And IG stories can definitely benefit from something like that.
Yes. Talk about creating a brand for yourself. You know, when you have that
Exactly.
cohesive look to your projects is really fantastic.
I think they're similar. Purple space.
Yeah. If you scroll up, Matt, did you or illustrate these as well? It's really beautiful.
It looks like
Oh, it looks like this is the purple.
future.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
I wish that was the future. Yeah, I think so.
Really nice.
I love
the
this
colors.
illustrations. Yes. Yeah, what's really interesting about this illustration is how it chose to push two opposites, right? So you're talking about the future, but the style of your illustration is very classic. So that's always fun. It's always fun to just always push two opposites in whatever graphic design, photography. Ask yourself, what is the complete opposite of this, and how can I introduce it?
Yeah, what's nice about this portfolio you have here, Matt, is that we talked about being a multidisciplinary and multi-purpose creative human being yesterday. And this is really showcasing a lot of different skills, design, illustration, type,
He says,
video.
yes, thank you. He did illustrate it.
Nice
That's
job, Matt. Very cool.
Very lovely. Let's see some photography.
Ooh,
An
wow,
abstract
beautiful.
array of colors, textures, juxtaposes. Number 1, overview. 2, planning, process, success, and final. Okay, that's really cool. So I get sort of like an understanding of what I'm about to see.
Really nice, yeah. Yeah, let's play that. Sorry that we can't have sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Human beings. Yes, Val. We were all human beings yesterday. We
Remix.
still are.
Ooh.
Very cool.
Kaleidoscopes.
I love
Very
that the
trippy.
frame of the video sits within a frame, so you get that motion behind the video frame too. It's a really neat optical illusion. It's like the project itself is.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think once you
it's hard to
start
describe.
playing with animation, you can't stop seeing it.
Awesome. Really nice.
Yeah. This
like this
is for a
design,
Vancouver-based record.
Yeah, having the layered
storyboarding.
Yes, having the layered imagery is really nice. With Behance, you can create those full width images to upload, and it allows you to really experiment with presenting different layers of your work.
Yeah, definitely expand on the layer and have it outside of the bound space, because it just gives the viewer sort of this, oh, okay, so there's a lot more here. I'm just capturing this little bit that's set up on the table, sort of. And take it out.
Really nice.
Let's see. Aqua sushi. Photography, food photography.
Yeah, really nice.
I love these knives.
Got a good
Oh, see,
That's
yeah.
really beautiful.
I love this. So this is what I was talking about earlier about showcasing your color palettes. There's so many color palettes that I see out there that are very like basic and just show you the color palette. This is a really interesting way to show you like where his reference came from. At the same time, giving you that like really cool texture to add more intrigue. So it's not just like 4 different squares. It's just like an explanation of where this was referenced from.
Awesome. Matt, great portfolio. Really fantastic work. Nice job. All right, let's move over to Alberto's. Right at the top there. Perfect. Alberto, nice. Wow, so much color. Really like it. And talk about...
You know we have to click on the cat.
We have to click on the cats. Thank you. Yeah, Matt, I know that wasn't the whole project, but we're a little time crunched. So everyone go check out Matt's work to see the full portfolio.
Yeah, so definitely check out Matt's work. Give him some feedback.
Yeah. And each other, everyone in chat. Go follow each other.
Yeah, I would really encourage you guys to check out his work because he does some really interesting animations that you guys can, get some ideas how to readapt them into Photoshop.
All right, Alberto, let's play a couple of these. Really nice, clean presentation on these.
Oh, this is nice.
Really nice, yeah.
So this is like those graphic merge with photography, and yeah, I love doing things like this in Instagram, just with the elements that are native to Instagram.
Yeah.
Just because you're able to just get these strange spaces with your photography.
Definitely something that can be done in Photoshop too. And this is an example of that frame animation that we were talking about earlier instead of the timeline.
Yeah, I would say, Alberto, maybe it's helpful to make these a GIF, so then they're just playing when you visit them. Yeah, so this one's a little bit longer. This one's shorter, but this one I like to see kind of go on forever.
Yeah,
so
maybe
they can
loop
get that
these
effect.
seamlessly. Yeah. Really nice motion though. Very simple but impactful.
Oh, I love this one. This one's very organized too.
Yeah.
So has this idea of collaging, right? So collaging graphic design and photography, but still he was able to maintain those cool shadows that give it its sense of ambience.
Alberto says that almost everything was done in Photoshop, so really, really great.
Oh, wow. So you've been animating in Photoshop too, probably. Let's see this one. Wow.
I like the colors in this, yeah.
Ooh,
really
nice.
cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, very ambient.
I'm
Nice.
curious, Alberto, what did you use to animate that? Did you use After Effects, Photoshop?
Yeah, Matt Behan's GIF limit is super low. Good point, Want to
GIF
showcase
limit?
your best work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes, I love all of these. You're entering imagination. You're not, confined to just what happens. It's like screaming at you.
Ooh, this one's awesome. Nice, glitchy.
Oh, I love this.
Fun, really fun.
And then the 3D elements, did you make them in Photoshop or did you use Illustrator? Oh, there's the cat.
There he is. You chose the right animation to feature.
The gradients.
As your cover.
Oh, use the app. Right. So the app is a very automatic way of making that, but I do encourage you to use the Puppet tool in After Effects, and that can give you more leverage on what you decide to animate. And it does the same exact thing. You select a specific area and then you animate it. So, but it gives you more opportunity to go, so again, understand what the concept is, so you can mess with it a little bit more.
Good tips. All right. These are really nice, Alberto, though, and it's really impressive that a lot of this was done in Photoshop. Definitely inspirational to get a sense of what can be done in terms of animating in Photoshop.
So Alberto says, if you go to my IG, I've been doing these for a while, so definitely check out Alberto's Instagram. It looks like this is very much the kind of work that I love seeing on Instagram. It's just like such a interesting merging of graphic design, just those really cool collages that give me so much inspiration as far as like breaking the rules of layout, right?
Glad you guys are enjoying this stream. It's been fun showing off animated in Photoshop.
Yeah. Are these skateboards?
Oh, yeah, it looks like skateboards, huh? Oh my god, I love
Like
that.
Van Gogh?
Yes. Munch. These are great. These are really funny.
That's so cool.
Nice. Alberto.
Yeah, it's good to make series. Like whenever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so different from when you were from the other project, but it's great because you're able to say, okay, I made something interesting. I played around with it. I made a few of them, and I'm going to post them because they deserve sort of like this attention, this space where people can give me comments. Yeah. And maybe I create something more. Maybe this is the direction that I want to do. Maybe I build my entire career on skateboard, design. But you won't know until you post it and see how much you like it a few years later, or people give you great comments or collaborations.
Yeah, series are a really fun way to show off and kind of give some oomph. If you find a technique or a style of creating artwork that is really interesting, you create one piece, try it on a different image, or take a, riff on it and just try to use it in a different way, and suddenly you have a series developing.
Oh,
It's really
Alberto
cool.
says he has these on actual boards.
Very cool.
So in that case, I would really encourage you to photograph them. Photograph them from different angles being used. Photograph the close-ups of what the print looks like, because that would be a really neat transition to be able to see the process of your workflow and to an actual, like, the reality of how you made it or
Good
produced
suggestion.
it. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Nice job, Alberto. Very cool.
Take your pick.
These are great. Let's see. I want to see. Yeah.
This one. Did I click it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
So
Oh, we got some more animation going on.
men's shoes. Wow, that's cool.
That is very cool.
On the Converse.
Yeah, and this is a good example of there's just
Masking?
one frame of animation going on in here, but
Right.
it adds so much to the project. Yeah, very cool.
So I think I want to guess that you did some masking and then allowed, this is like a photo on top of a video, and the mask is basically the window to that area. This is a really good use of that.
Yeah. Alberto, nice work. I want to make sure that we have enough time to show your the Photoshop animation stuff in the screen. So
Really cool.
yeah, thank you both, Matt and Alberto. Nice work. Really fantastic portfolios. Make sure everyone in chat, give them a look. We didn't get to everything, so definitely take a look at their portfolios and share your own work too. You know, if you see someone chat, check them out.
For
That's
sure.
what Behance is for.
Good job,
great.
Alberto.
Nice
Good
job.
Matt.
Nice work.
You make beautiful minimalist animations with Photoshop. Lucio.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice to
Yeah,
be
that's a good way to put it. Minimalist animations.
Yeah, having that very ambient sort of motion is just as valid as a big, lengthy animation too.
What's interesting also is that I think Alberto mentioned he does these on Photoshop. It's great to use Photoshop as a place where you just make something over and over and over just for practice.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think we're gonna jump back into Photoshop real quick.
Yes.
And if we have a chance to show
How to export.
exporting is good,
Yeah.
yes, and then seeing the final animation in Instagram would be great too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice job, everyone.
I'm applauding, says Jamil,
Matt and Alberto, nice job.
to see their portfolios. Okay, so then we have day and off to complete. So then we're gonna do the same reveal animation. So we can go from left to right in this case, just to, I'm making that decision mostly because we write from left to right. And I don't have an element where this is coming out of. So I think it looks a little bit more natural if I do it from left to right. So let's do that. I'm gonna make it disappear first, right, by unlinking that mask. Then we're gonna go to day, take these out so I can show you how I did it. So then we're gonna click it and it's out, and then we're gonna come in, and maybe we can come in a little bit after the letter A, right? So we wanna show where that letter A was. So it ends around here. We can come maybe a little bit right there and start revealing day. So then that might mean that I have to bring this in.
So
actually.
staggering a little bit.
I have to stagger them, yeah. So I'll stagger them and put this here and start revealing it around here. So let's go back to our layers and then move this back so that it can showcase day. And you can see how, like, the fact that it's not a rectangle, like, just makes it look very random, and it's a lot more organic than a rectangle.
So having that imperfect shape reveal the perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect. And then we have this, and then we have that. And
Nice.
you can tell that day comes out faster. That's up to you, but you probably want to make it around the same distance. It goes like this and like that.
Very
Done.
cool. Yeah.
And I will do the same thing with...
It's a very organic movement.
Yeah. And it's, you make these decisions, taking it out of the umbrella, left to right, because that is how it's handwritten. And then you're more conscious of, like, how it's going to be perceived. So this is the same thing for off. And off currently doesn't have a mask, so Alt click on the mask will hide it. And then we're gonna do those same circles again. think it was here, right here. So we can just do a few of them. Shift plus to just add more to the selection.
And if you didn't have a chance to get your portfolio seen, no worries. There will be more reviews later, so you'll still have another chance to do so.
Yeah, or definitely share them with Matt and Alberto. Maybe they can give you some feedback.
Yes, good suggestion. Yeah. Network among chat folks. Yeah, it's a great opportunity just to make those little connections, even if it's something as small as a quick little message of, hey, check out my work. It's a good thing.
Exactly. I mean, it's good karma, design karma, to just like be able to help other people, because you realize also that you know a lot of things, and that you're to some degree at expert level to somebody else.
Spreading that good design karma today.
Okay, so we have off there, and then we're gonna unlink it, Command D to deselect, and then we're gonna unlink it, and we're gonna start all the way to the left and go to the timeline. I'm gonna remove these. And so we're gonna use day as a reference because day sort of ends right here. So we're gonna stagger them and then just have that position of it's not in view, then we're gonna have that in this area. So you can't see it right now, but it's going to begin to show around this time. So let's use the same distance and pull it to the right so that we can see that letter. Yes. So then we're able to see off, and you can see it automatically adds it. So we have, if we were to see all of these three together, you can see how they're staggered, right, in the time.
Yeah, so using those keyframes as a reference for when things pop up is a good visual representation of your cadence and timing.
Right. And again, we were only using the sand as a reference, so I can actually take that sand out by just removing this. And actually our time, our animation of the sand is going to appear now. So you get this.
Nice, very cool.
And what might be interesting is that I could even like, so you see this animations showing up before, I can have these anchor points a little bit later so that the sand has already appeared by the time it shows up, right? So then it should appear around here. Let's see. So we kind of match that distance.
Playing around with the timing.
Right. You just select all of the keyframes. Or you can also make that sand move faster, which could be helpful.
So we're getting close to the end of the stream. Is there a place where people can see this final animation?
Yes, I'm gonna have it on IG Stories.
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely make sure you check out Sin's social media and keep following her for all of that good animated goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us today. You won't see us again later this week, but there's a lot of other stuff coming up. So, Sin, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Have a good day.
Just yesterday. Shine.